All right, we are live. I'm going to wait a few minutes to see if YouTube and want to talk to each other. Looks like everybody's talking to each other. All right. So, welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Raby, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti theist. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Rapid Fire. This is where I answer your burning questions. It's a time a little bit more open forum to everybody to kind of come in and ask whatever questions you want in the chat, and I will try my best to answer them. Some of the answers might be I don't know. Another answer might be that's too personal. So just keep those in mind. But just a few channel announcements. Do have a couple of new updated emojis and a few other things for those of you who are members. I am at my limit as far as how many emojis I can give to my members at this point. I need about 10 more members to go to add another one. So there's that. So we've reached the point with emojis where I'm going to have to rotate them a little bit probably in order to keep them, but I want to get my standards up and running. So we'll do that. There's also a goal in the chat. If I hit that goal, I will wear a hat. I bowed the Holy Bunny hat out because it's won so many times. It's entered my champions forum. So I'll only do the Holy Bunny hat probably on Saturday streams from now on because it's won so many times. It's reached the championship level. So we've got 4 others. So we'll see what happens there. But so there's that. So if we reach the goal, I will, whatever the poll says that. And currently we have a black top hat in the lead with 40% of the vote. So thanks for that. Get a little roll call here, see who's here. Right at the beginning, let's see, Fred was here, and then Asherah was here. And then Fred asked his burning question of God is, my answer to that is if I reference religions, then God is whatever you want him to be. Okay, that's just true. And then Azo was here. Oh, by the way, Fred, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So the support of this channel is paramount. So we may get into that later. Your own answer? Yeah, pretty much. Rimmer is here. That's good. Good to see you, Rimmer. Anne Marie. Phantom is here. All right. Bridge of the Divine. Hey, Jail. Michael is here. John from Holland is here. Owl is here. All right. I have to introduce something new here. Some of the new stuff that's out, some of the new artwork from Earl. She edited and updated this one a little bit for Fang's sake. And then she also did this one, the original for Fang's sake. She updated that one a little bit, made it a little bit better. Some of the this one is also an emoji. So if you get into a conversation where you want to slap your head, this is the one. So we have the standard fangs with a spin, and so there's that. And then you have the cucumbers, the sea cucumbers. And if you want to do a W2F moment, you have this one. So, and then of course, the Binky one. Those are all good emojis. So, all right. Let's see. What do we got? Any good comments here? Clergy exists to teach. Whether you learn the right lesson or not is up to you. That's fairly true. I mean, if you have a good bullshit detector, whenever I can't go into churches because of traumatic reasons. Like I've had some really bad experiences inside church over the 40 years I was a Christian and 20 years as a pastor, most of them as a pastor, by the way, because people don't treat pastors very well a lot of times. You need to see a doctor, Phantom. It's beyond my expertise. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, I can't go into churches anymore. I have a real hard time with it. And if I ever get over that, probably I'd end up in the back row and making notes for this channel of what's wrong with the pastor's sermon. So I can't really do that. So there's that. I saw that Mindshift just has something on Wes Huff. My problem with Wes Huff is he hurts my head. He really hurts my head. The fact that people think that what he is saying has any legitimacy just bothers the hell out of me. It's like the guy has literally some of the dumbest takes on things. It's like, dude, do you even think about what you're saying before you get out there? So yes, I don't get him, other than, he's the newest kid on the block, I think, as I recall. So we'll see. Hey, Cranky. Glad the elder gods decided to send their representative. So as always, but yes, I plan on watching that video a little bit later, probably at work. But yes, Wes Huff. Yeah, I thought about reacting to him once, but I'm like, I'm really, I'm really just, I'm having a hard time with him. And it's really kind of the standard apologetic thing these days is they will find somebody that's a good spokesman, quote unquote, has a lot of energy. They're going to a younger crew because William Lane Craig and Frank Turek and a few others just aren't cutting it anymore. Habermas, they're getting old, long in the tooth. And so they're trying to create a new, younger wave of apologists. And I think Wes Huff is one of those. Inspiring Philosophy, he's a new one. And they're doing it the same way they always have, which is create manufactured authority that they don't actually have. And then, speak with great confidence. So there you go. There you go. Of course she is. Why would Jessica Rabbit not be accepted anywhere? Yes, she is. There was a theory posted Saturday that we have to explore theologically about Fangsology. It's the idea that Fangs is actually the real father of Jesus, through Marilyn Monroe, the first Playboy Playmate. So that, and then there's some sort of time travel involved where the baby is removed and impregnated into Mary as a joke. Okay, like the whole thing of Gabriel, that's not Gabriel, that's Fangs. So the trickster god at work. So there's that. Asher, I haven't been acquainted with Wes Huff that much, but if I was a grifter, just a general grifter, just trying to find a way to make money spewing bullshit, religion has always been that way of spewing bullshit. And so if you're a con artist at heart, okay, you don't have a problem being a con artist, you could go into religion and do it. Okay. And I can see somebody like Wes Huff going into apologetics and doing that, because if you get popular enough, even some of the YouTube apologists out there, they're popular enough, they do this full time. Okay. If you can turn YouTube into a full-time gig, that's a pretty good gig. You just get on, spout your nonsense and call it a day. So I don't see that is not a possibility. Okay. I look at all of the apologists out there and think that sometimes, like, it's like, damn, dude, do you even know what's going on? Okay. But they can just say, if you rah the Christian crowd enough, you can become a good apologist. You just got to speak with a great deal of authority and confidence and have some manufactured authority behind you, and you're good. And I could see it's a very easy, low entry bar to being a con artist is using religion of any type. And being an apologist is right in there. So yes, they could do that. Yes. Yeah, there's just so much there. I have lost track. Like in the Pentecostal church, I dealt with this a lot. There were tons of people that wouldn't go to the doctor. They just, well, I'm just going to go to God and he's the great physician and I'll pray for it. And so there's this mentality in religion in general about that in certain quarters in the first place. But then you have certain people that have doctrines that don't allow them to go to the doctor. So yes, that is a problem. And it's something that I've addressed on this. He's Donny Osmond. I could see that. That's fair, Rimmer. That's fair. But yeah, I honestly, Owl, it's when people say religion does good, I say, well, yeah, make up for all the kids that have died because their parents haven't taken them to the doctor. Like God was going to heal them. Yes, God is a Superman, fictional idea, or woman. There's a lot of female deities. I was watching some commentary on early humans, like way back a million years ago, and as you look at them, their gods tend to be fertility based, and there's a ton of these female fertility god symbols everywhere. So it's almost like from a spiritual point of view, women were venerated and men were basically killing each other to protect their veneration. Not much has changed. No, seriously. Long in the tooth is fangs. Yeah, that's probably true. That's the beauty of apologetics, so you can keep going for a long time. You really can. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you. Appreciate you very, very much. That's two. And I am also taking gifted memberships for that. The one thing I wanted to get up is membership, so we can do a few more emojis. So I never know what Earl is working on. She just kind of hands me stuff when she's done with it. So, and that's fine. It's like for me, that's fine. That's good. And then I incorporate it into the channel whenever I can. Yes. Goodbye, Norma Jean. All right. Little Elkin, Nancy. Yeah, I'm in Little Reed City, Michigan. I'm Reed City's most famous atheist, so that's not hard to do. I don't know. It might be West Michigan's most famous atheist. I don't know. I do have a YouTube channel with 5K subscribers, so maybe I've graduated to that level. So I've started a cult here, Rimmer. We've got enough artwork now that I'm seriously considering Merc because I imagine a lot of you would love some of this stuff on a shirt. So, yeah, Jordan Peterson is a pretty good example of a con. Like he has both Christians and non-Christians conned into thinking he's a smart dude. He's very smart at conning and avoiding direct questions. But this is kind of the example of what I'm talking about. It's when you deal with religious people, you're already dealing with a certain level of gullibility. And so you already have that going for you when you start the con. And I guess if I was a con mentality, which I'm not, I would pick the religion that would probably generate me the most money. And to be honest, I would probably go into some sort of fundamentalist, charismatic healing ministry, yakety yak, God's talking back kind of thing. Because a lot of people would buy that. Okay. And a lot of people are desperate enough sometimes to go to faith healers because they got no other options. So you have that. So if you don't have a conscience, go for it. Annoys me. Let's see. The excuse is pulling quotes from some deaf people. I'm assuming dead people, as if they're. Who cares what Aquinas or C.S. Lewis can? They prove their claims exactly. Actually, B.S. Lewis, and I hate to mention his name because he might show up at that point. I might have summoned him, but B.S. Lewis, has for years had his name, and he finally did a video about why he doesn't accept C.S. Lewis, why he thinks C.S. Lewis is bad. It's a really good video. Like he takes him down. I don't want to give BS a big head about it, but it was I really liked that video because he nailed BS. He nailed C.S. Lewis pretty hard, so it was really good. So, oh, oh. It's matriarchally, and they solve issues without violence. No way. Actually, a lot of societies solve issues without too much violence. It's just there's that. Yeah. Food and sex is usually a good solve for most of anything. uh, no, he actually it was a really good video, Fred. I mean, if you go over to B.S. Lewis and look at his video on C.S. Lewis, he's been on YouTube for years without addressing C.S. Lewis, but everybody loves his name, and now he finally addressed that question, and it's a really good video. He his 5 reasons why he thinks C.S. Lewis is BS. So so there's that. So there's that. But yeah, getting back to Michael's comment about Aquinas and C.S. Lewis, yes, argument from authority is a very common apologist kind of thing. Like creationists do this too when they try to quote mine various scientists. Like they will quote mine a scientist to the nth degree. They do that all the damn time. Like they'll quote Darwin on some issue and completely ignore the fact that he solved the issue, like the eye thing. But Thomas Aquinas wrote in the 13th century, I think, and most of his ideas about how the universe works have been like debunked by reality. Okay, what we've discovered by reality. So a lot of his presuppositions about how the universe worked is gone. So his reasoning doesn't really work that well anymore. At the time, yeah, to give him kudos for some of his observations, but he also had some shit observations. So there's that. Oh. It's Aquinas. The miracle is I've turned into herons in his mouth. Come on, I get that he's a good writer, but he would have been famous without canonization. Yes. Yeah, whenever these guys get sainthood, some of the miracles are really odd. Like Mother Teresa's, I think, is odd too, because it's like when they were filming her, this one news crew was filming her, everything's so much brighter and clearer. It's a miracle. And the guy gets back, yeah, we were using a new Kodak film. So it's like, but it's like the miracles that are associated with saints are often very, very interesting. I find them hilarious at times. Hey, Wolf, it's okay to be fashionably late. I'm barely on. Like I've only been on for 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes. So here's the thing about me and C.S. Lewis. I can read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and the whole series and take it as a work of fiction and really enjoy it. It's a good children's story. Okay, young adult type thing. It's a clean story that you can read to your kids, and it's the analogies to Christianity that drive me nuts because they're obvious. Some of them are very obvious, but if you don't know Christianity, it would just be a really good fiction series. He does write some good things. Like I disagree with a lot of the Screw Tape letters because I don't believe in demons, but it's brilliantly written when you think about it. Like he's a good writer. Okay, it's what he writes about sucks. Okay, and his reasoning sucks. His argument from beauty, the most obvious debunk of the argument from beauty is, okay, so if beauty proves God, does ugliness disprove him? they don't want to deal with the other side of the coin. Like a lot of C.S. Lewis's arguments just don't want to deal with the other side of the coin. Like suffering. He's like, oh, but God is as concerned about the suffering of my mother as I am. Really, is he? He has the power to make her stop suffering and doesn't use it. Okay, so is he recolored Platonius? I probably agree with that. I think what Thomas Aquinas did is he took Western philosophy and kind of Christianized it. So, hey, Triple E, good to see you. I'm working down my comments list, so we can't continue to reference outdated scholarship or musing when they're debunked or improved upon. If we did that, doctors would be bloodletting instead of antibiotics. That's correct. And I think that's the problem I have with like Thomas Aquinas being invoked in philosophical discussions. We've moved on. Okay, we've gotten past that. Modern philosophy, I don't know. They're in a whole different realm. Like the more I read them, they're in a whole different realm than some of these older guys. So yeah, I'm just kind of done, but they bring up Thomas Aquinas a lot because for an apologist, he represents, a few ideas that they can use to kind of prove God. And that's why they keep him up. So it's like, it's an issue for them more than it is for me, because I just point out to them, what you're calling out is old. I think I watched a debate where somebody was going full blown Thomas Aquinas, and the other guy, the atheist, was like, that doesn't make sense when it comes to reality. Like we haven't discovered that. And so it's like they cling to the past. I think my problem with apologists and religion in general is it keeps clinging to ideas of the past that no longer work. And because we keep using old ideas, we end up hurting ourselves. Okay, it's like, you can only stab yourself in the arm with a knife so many times before you realize that maybe that's not a good idea. Okay, and that's kind of where I am with old philosophers and stuff sometimes. It's like, I find the Socratic method to be helpful, but, it's a really general tactic that all philosophers use. And it's those kind of things have survived. But when philosophers get in the past and theologians in the past get specific, they're dealing with old information and they may not be the best ones to interpret it anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I know what the real miracle is too, but I think the stated miracle for her was this whole there's a glow around all these things on this camera, and the cameraman goes back, yeah, we were using a new Kodak film. So yeah, everything turned out brighter and nicer. Isn't that great? So, and I think that's her official miracle. I can't remember, but I remember that was it. So one of them is punctual. Okay, that's facts. That's facts. Wolf Sinclair is usually late, and Michael Wolf is always on time. Yeah, I mean, bloodletting does work for certain things. If you want certain effects, it's just usually not the effect you're going for. Yeah, the JWs have that problem, don't they? I forgot about that for a minute. Yeah, like life is in the blood, so we can't do blood transfusions. Well, wouldn't that? See, I don't get that. It seems like JWs, if life's in the blood and you're giving your life to somebody else so that they can live and survive, why wouldn't that be the doctrine of the church to give your life for somebody else, just like Jesus gave his blood for you? I don't understand the JW's reasoning on that one from a theological point of view. If I can put myself back into the faith mind, um, if life's in the blood, why wouldn't you want to give it your life like Jesus did to save others? It seems like JW should be the first in line for donors. It's like, I don't understand the reasoning about that. So yeah, it's probably that they're nuts. Yeah. I can see your comment coming up later. Yeah, that's a useless superpower. Thing is, I have up reading since the age of 10, read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but as a child, But never read this work now. I agree. It is a work of children's fiction. Okay. And its mentality is right there. The reasoning, like in The Magician's Nephew, there's this argument against evil, the problem of evil, and it's really that level. Like he doesn't really deal with the ish. So that was that. But I get you. I mean, I can't read them now. I see the flaws in them too easy now. Yeah, she can do some of the stuff. I think the real thing with Mother Teresa that bothers me is how much she was probably a puppet for that current pope. Because here's this wonderful woman of God out there, advocate. I mean, you got a woman who's never had a child advocating that contraception and abortion are the same. Like, no, you can't mix souls. I don't know. Why not? I mean that. I mean, I'm sure the JWs still have children, so they obviously don't have problems with sex. That's mixing bodily fluid. Is there no soul in that bodily fluid? I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. If I were to start a cult that was good, I guess I would want give your blood as transfusions to save other lives, just like Jesus did. That would be a good use of that. Yeah, consuming blood. Yes, they kind of do that too. It's like, okay, well, aren't you kind of consuming blood all the time inside yourself? Yes, they're nuts. How much wood would a woodchuck wood if a woodchuck could chuck wood? As much as he could. Probably. I mean, depending on whether he's preparing for winter or not. You know. Yeah, that's the other thing that bothers me too about the JW thing, Michael. Is like, what do they do about that? Like, it's when you have blood related taboos, menstruation, all that stuff. It's like, what do you do with that? Okay, like it's wasted blood. I mean, you have this exchange of bodily fluids that involved in procreation. So I don't, and a lot of that's blood based. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird thing to me. The direction they went with that is just opposite of what I think they should. Okay, like I think there should be like JW should be recognized and world renowned for their giving of blood for transfusions. Like every chance they can donate, they donate. It's like it seems like that would be the tact of life is in the blood, so therefore let's get save other lives like Jesus saved our life. I just to me that makes a hell of a lot more sense theologically. Of course, we're dealing with theology, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense given the text. I just don't understand where that's. I'm fairly certain that's true. She was used to generate a lot of cash. Okay, and so they're absolutely true there. Doing photo ops with Beatty Doc. Okay, yeah, that was she did a lot of stuff like that. Her connections with dictators was legion. They don't believe in souls. Okay, there we go. It's rapid fire, Triple E. Whatever topic of discussion you have on your mind. Yeah, they don't chuck wood, but that's why the limerick says, if they could, what would they do? So, let's see, the mental gymnastics you go through the excuse that are worse than the West Huff. I used to work with a bunch of them. They even differentiate between. Oh, really? No, my mother worked in a hospital lab, so I probably know a little bit more about blood and blood donation than anything. But it's like, at a real amateurish level, that I at least know how to have a conversation about it, and that's just dumb. It's the fact that you're getting that nuanced about the discussion, so that you can justify not saving your child's life with a transfusion, that's just sick and twisted to me. I don't have a lot of truck with that. So yes, the topic is to get me off topic, Triple E. Just and there's no topic for me to get off of. So. Do groundhogs grind ground? Yes, they dig. They do dig. They're a digger. Um, oh, okay. Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, yeah. Bloodletting is not going to heal a bunch. Yeah. I mean, kudos to you. I mean, I used to donate blood too, but it's like I work third, and it's really hard to find somebody that's like third friendly. And I have some other reasons now, some health reasons that I don't want to go into, but I don't donate anymore. And people would love my B negative blood, so so there's that. They can eat a bloody steak because it's myoglobin and not hemoglobin. As if it, I'm not trying to be rude to them, but you do realize that the blood inside a steak has both, right? Okay, so I mean, I used to work in a meat department. Like they try to get all the blood out, but they can't tell you that blood is out of your meat. They can't do that. So and so yeah, I don't know where they get that rumor. That seems odd to me. And I still say the theology is odd. Like, why didn't you go the other direction? Like so ontological argument. Oh, I haven't dealt with that one in a bit. Here, hold on. Immanuel Kant. Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, sorry, my memory's good, but it's short. I think of it. I'm going to get really blunt about the argument, all the arguments for the existence of God. I don't know of one of them that doesn't beg the question or assume the conclusion. So it's like you don't even define what you mean by God first. Like definitions, defining terms is fine at the beginning, but no, I don't know. You're basically ontological argument is like defining God into existence through definition. And just because you want something to be there doesn't make it so. Just because you think about it doesn't make it so. Proving the existence of something takes more than my thoughts about it. So, but that's kind of true of all the arguments for the existence of God is like they all assume a certain definition of God without saying it. And so it's kind of you're already in the realm of begging the question. Like I think if you're going to make an argument for the existence of God, you got to start off with, what exactly are we talking about when we say God? Are we talking about Zeus type gods? Are we talking about lesser gods? Are we talking about the omni God? What do you mean? And okay, because mankind has created so many gods, you have to really tell me what God you're talking about and then move on from there. So your blood has too much coffee in it. That's probably fair. Oh, they won't take your O plus. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I'm B neg. They like me. I don't know much about dark matter. I don't claim expertise in things I'm not an expert at. I guess a physicist who specializes in dark matter might have a better answer for you there, but yeah, I don't know. See, because when we're talking about God, are we talking about a personal entity? Are we talking about the force? It's like you have a certain definition of what you want God to be, and then you create an argument to get there. I think a lot of the arguments for God's existence, that's their thing. Like the moral argument automatically assumes that there's a source for morality that involves some sort of deity. That's its assumption behind the whole thing. And like, no, it could be the source of morality. It could be human beings themselves. So dark matter is a matter of the gaps. Yeah, it's a bad argument. It really is. Yes, my argument for God is simple and irrefutable. Is kind of the way it goes. God exists, anything goes here. Where God exists. Yeah, it's. I think Phantom, you have discovered the standard format for any argument for the existence of God. You just start with the assumption that God exists, and then you go about to prove the conclusion. You work it. The problem I have with most arguments for God's existence now is I recognize so much how they start with a conclusion and work their way backwards, and it's like you shouldn't really even have the idea of God exists in your head if you're going to make an argument for God. So, and I don't know how you would do that. So, dark matter is just a we don't know. We don't know. Okay, fair enough. uh, it amazed me to cause Alex O'Connor. I think you know him about him and by reputation. Thinks I don't know favorite argument for the existence of God. Honestly, Anonymous, we all have our favorite argument for the existence of God. It doesn't mean it's our just because it's our favorite doesn't mean we think it's a good one. I mean, I think the maximally great argument is great because I always like to think of a maximally great pizza. But and it's my favorite argument because it's fun to talk about. It doesn't mean I believe it. Okay, favorite and actually believe it are two different things. Okay, you can have a favorite piece of bullshit that you like to think about because it's hilarious to you. Does Alex mean that it's his favorite argument because he likes to laugh at it in his private moments? Or so, I mean, from my perspective, it's like it just because something's my favorite, like I have my favorite arguments for the existence of God. I definitely do the maximally great pizza among that one, the maximally great God thing being argument. But it's like, I still think it's bullshit because just because you can conceive of something in your mind doesn't mean that it exists. That's magic. Okay. And we haven't even proven magic exists, let alone anything else. Yeah. I mean, like Fred doesn't have a fire because for him, they're all crap. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of your favorite turd in the septic tank. I would argue with that. I mean, I think that's the way Alex is talking about it. Like he's done all the arguments for the existence of God early in his career. I think that's why he doesn't touch them anymore because he's already did that, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and so when he says one of them is his favorite, he's probably saying it was the funnest one to bullshit with. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't mean that he agrees with it. Favorites. I have favorite fiction. Doesn't mean I believe they're real. I mean, you find him insufferable. Yeah, he's kind of gotten insufferable. Although he has his good moments. He's ended a couple apologist careers, and so that's kind of good. Yeah, something from nothing. Yes. Well, that's one theory. Let's say, are you familiar with the idea the Tower of Babel was supposed to be built into heaven so that they could go up and kill God and replace it with an idol? This idol would come to life in God's place. It's not in the text, but I have heard that this is one of the reasons. This is a interpretation of why God saw it as bad. Now, here's the real problem for this story. If this story is true, then why doesn't God have problems with like rockets and spaceships today? Okay, why is it suddenly it's almost like our cosmology changed from the ancient world. Like they were still dealing with the flat earth and God's throne was on the top of the bubble dome and we're going to get there and replace that idol of life. it would be a good explanation of why it pissed off God so much and he confused their languages. But I would say confusing of languages has led to more ill than I care to think about. How many wars have been started over miscommunication because of language barriers? I mean, really dumb move there, God. So, so there's that. Yeah. Oh, by the way, yes, I have to say this. That argument, yeah, for Fang's sake. I really have to say it. It's bad theology. I mean, you got nothing to prove that in the text. The thing about theology is the best theologies, according to theologians, are things you can anchor back to the Bible or solid traditions, and that's just not. I'm not sure that that's a solid argument. So I'll give that one up for Fang's sake. Um, I keep him in reserve for arguments like that. The second is based on whether it's funny or not. Yeah, that's probably true for me too. I dismissed the arguments for the existence of God when I was in Bible college and an apologetics class because I saw they all beg the question. And I mentioned that to my apologetics professor one day, and he's like, well, yeah, you're right. Okay. It's like, but he was one of those big cumulative case, like there's some element of truth to every argument for God and all the evidence for God. And it's like, no, if it's bullshit, you're just piling bullshit. It's like, I didn't buy that argument either. I spent a good chunk of my Christian life trying to find an actual piece of evidence for the existence of God. And it's really difficult. So, he went up against that one apologist and he absolutely beat the living shit out of him with Bible knowledge. Like he knew the Bible better than the apologist. And yeah, I haven't seen that guy, that apologist, since. I mean, maybe D'Souza or whatever his name is. But yeah, if you look up a debate between him and D'Souza, it's kind of legendary for how bad he did. Yeah, so it's like Alex kind of killed him. He looked really good in that debate. So, but I haven't seen the apologist since. Like it's like he's been discredited. So, Venom isn't real. Yeah, I Fangs is real, but I'm not sure about Venom. I mean, you can make it up. I mean, just turn Venom into a deity, and then you can believe anything you want. I honestly, Cranky, Alex bothers me because there's this mentality in a lot of atheists right now that Christianity gives them the tools as far as culture to battle against certain issues. My problem with that is I don't think that's true. I know too much about like the Enlightenment thinkers, because I read, a lot of them. I know where the basis of a lot of Western society Enlightenment ideas come from, and it comes from the Enlightenment. It doesn't come from the Bible. It doesn't come from Christianity. Christianity is the antithesis of what they think they're trying to hold on to. They're trying to hold on to aspects of Christianity that they think they can use for their political, social stuff. And I think that's where Alex is going. He wants to hold on to like this idea of the Christian worldview being the basis of Western society. And I think that's bullshit. Okay. We had the Christian basis for Western society up until the Enlightenment. How did that work out? Okay. It was the introduction of Enlightenment ideas that started to change Western society for the better. We started to get away from the Christian bullshit. And I think the problem with a lot of these content creators is they want to get back to Christianity because it's the best worldview, quote unquote. And I'm like, no, no, it's not. Yes, rockets and spaceships are cool. Are you saying God, didn't mind the rockets because they were cool? I can see that. As it's original black metal band, yes. Mystery topic of the mystery Babylon religion. Here, let me. I might. The problem is, I read so much sometimes on the line that I don't, and I get, it sounds familiar. Mystery Babylon religion. Well, I don't know. It's not good when the first thing that tops up is a Mystery Babylon spring clearance for Merck. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's a band name I haven't heard in a while, Christian band name, the Swirling Eddies. Um, but no, I get where it comes from, though, from a biblical point of view, because you have that Babylon reference in Revelation, and you have the Babylon reference, and Babylon comes up a lot in the Bible. The idea of it being a religion that counters God in a lot of ways. So, so there's that. I actually agree with Mr. Deity on this, Rembrandt, because it's very easy to show the silliness of apologetics. And then when you show how silly the silly parts are, and then you realize that the rest of that's a little better, isn't much less silly. Since apologetics has really come to the forefront, now apologetics has always existed in the Christian church. In fact, I would say when you look at some of the gospels, you can see that they're engaged in early apologetics already. Like, well, the disciples stole the body. So Matthew throws in the little line about, no, they were paid to say, the disciples stole the body. Really, he just rose from the dead. You can see that. So apologetics has always existed, but the arguments have always, always, always been silly. So, and the percentage of Christians is dropping. I don't know. I'm interested. I know that the latest poll still shows that, which is interesting to me, given the fact that it's almost like we have a younger generation is being turned off by this vulgar display of Christianity that we have in government right now, and even more might exit. But yes, I do think we should promote the silliest apologetics because it really helps us out. I think he makes a valid point politically. And from a political science point of view and a movement point of view, yes. You got to show how something is super duper silly, and then you can say, well, the rest of it isn't much better. Okay, so I don't believe in free will. Do I believe in genuine choices? Yes. I'm a soft determinist. I just think a lot of things are beyond our control. I just focus on the things that are in my control. So that's kind of where I land on that. If objective morality exists, the criteria for me, it has to stand outside of any other mind. It has to be an objective moral standard that just exists. And I'm sorry, all moral standards seem to be subjective to the people that practice them. And so I just don't think you can give me an example of objective morality. Even the phrase "thou shalt not kill" is subjective to human beings. Like, okay, if you have a God give a commandment, it's subjective to that God. So I just don't, it's like it's related to, my definition of subjective is related to somebody else or some other mind. And we come up with morality because it's a survival trait. I don't know. I don't think you can get away from subjectivity when you have any moral discussion, because you're kind of giving me an example. Like if somebody kills somebody, we start to ask a lot of other questions, like, was he angry? Was he, there's a whole bunch of subjectivity that gets added to that question. That's why we have different designations of murder 1, 2, 3, 4 in American, legal system, because, was it a crime of passion? He didn't really, but premeditated murder, you thought about it, you planned it. There's a whole bunch of subjective ideas behind murder to determine what level of murder we have. It's not as simple as saying it's wrong to murder, you know. So yeah, yes, Dinesh, that's who it is. Yeah, Dinesh. I haven't seen Dinesh since that debate. Yeah, is he a felon? Okay, that makes sense. But yes, I don't see how you get away from any subjectivity in any moral discussion, because sooner or later you're talking about somebody's ideas. And it's not touchy feely when I say subjective. I'm talking about subject to our reasoning, subject to analysis, subject to what's beneficial to society as a whole, what's beneficial to the individual. These are all subjective ideas. I don't think you can get subjectivity out of a moral discussion at all. So, yeah, you haven't heard him in a long time because, yeah, Alex kind of kicked his ass. So, has he gone back to his felonies? Yeah, he's another pretty boring hack. Yeah, he didn't do it. Have we got that far, River? Has Westboro condemned fangs yet? Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, see, my killer argument being a force for good, especially being German, is the Holocaust is perpetrated by good Christians. Yes, that's a pretty good one. Hey, BS, we were talking about you earlier. We apparently summoned you. It's that pentagram around my desk. Damn it. You can still have meaning is, I'm sorry, we have very deep human meaning that's subjective. The idea that meaning can't be subjective, that's a nonsensical idea to me. Like when I hug my grandkids, it's a very subjective moment. It still holds a lot of meaning to me. Okay, like the fact is meaning is a value judgment. And so by its nature it's subjective, because what means something to me doesn't mean the same to you. And morality kind of follows that too, because some things are more valuable than others, like human life is more valuable than, say, stuff. So that's a subjective assessment. So I honestly, I think we'd go back to the absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you, Cranky. I appreciate it. Thanks, Triple E. Appreciate it. Yeah, I try to answer that question better, but I think if you're looking for a Mystery Babylon information, it's probably all the interpretations due to Babylon being mentioned so much in the Bible. You kind of have to throw that all together. You can have definitions of good and bad without a God. You don't need any when we talk good and bad in the first place, it's a subjective concept. What do there are some, the majority of human beings would say are good and bad, but there are some things that fill a gray area too. So, it's like, it doesn't, precept is the silliest argument. Yes, I think so too. When you when you come at the problem with certain presuppositions, and then somebody points out like your presuppositions are bad, like the assumption, like in this very recent discussion, that having morality be subjective is a bad thing. It's like, no, it's just the reality of it. Okay, it's like every moral discussion I've ever had has had a subjective element of of a value judgment. Morality is about value judgments, and once you get that into your head, then you can start, okay, what is most beneficial for all of us as a moral system. It's why secular morality can absolutely dump slavery and say it's disadvantage to a group of people. It's a really weird concept that somebody should be able to own another human being. That's like, what the hell is that? In secular mindset, there's no value to that. Okay. But an authoritarian thing like from the Bible says slavery is okay in certain circumstances. And so from, if you presuppose the Bible, you have to presuppose certain moral stuff that secular morality dumps, because as a value judgment, you begin to realize how bad it is. So she likes the art and the friendly style. That's good. That's good. We're always welcome. Cheers to your girlfriend. Yeah, Earl. I don't know. I don't think Earl's here tonight. If she is, she's lurking. She does that sometimes. She'll lurk and do art while she's lurking. So she's done that. I've literally gotten art from her while the stream has been going. So, but not today. But I have in the past. Apologetics Unchained is silly as. Yeah, if you're out there, Triple E's girlfriend, go right ahead. You're subjectively alike. See, and there's the other thing, Phantom. I don't think a lot of these people realize that there are atheists that are objectivists. They do believe objective morality is possible, but they define objective and subjective differently than I do. So, I mean, that's the other problem, with talking about objective and subjective ethics is I've read a lot on this question, moral question, and the definitions for objective and subjective in philosophy don't seem to be standard. Like everybody has to define what they mean by that before they begin. And so I've found several different definitions of what those mean. I just I go back to the dilemma, it's like if morality comes from God, then it's might makes right. And it's not, there's no real moral standard that we're going by here. It's just the entity says so. Okay. Or does the deity just acknowledge good morality, in which case the deity isn't necessary for the morality? Okay, so how do you overcome Euthero's dilemma kind of thing? And most of these moral arguments they make for God just don't do that. So they just don't. Like some of the newer atheists. I'm not new, but I've always tried to maintain a place where people can come to talk. And I have friends, like Asho and Earl and a few others that are not welcome other places, but they're welcome here. So I don't agree with them half the time either, but they're still welcome here. It's weird, that you can disagree with somebody and still be their friend. All right. We said hi. She likes my beard. Oh, you're in trouble with Triple E. Yeah, I'm trying to get it longer. It got to a point where it's slow going now. So, but yeah, I haven't trimmed it in probably a couple months now. So, yeah, we welcome girls here. Oh, he was election fraud. He got pardoned. It seems to be par for the course. Both the latest two presidents have pardoned a crap ton of people. That's why I think if we ever get a willing president to look at the pardon process and the executive order process, Congress should pass some laws. I think those two powers of presidents are way too powerful and they need to be curtailed a bit. Okay, so can't break in council chains. Punishment, rehab, restoration are part of those chains. The bad things don't happen in a vacuum. Yes, exactly. Believe it's immoral to circumcise their children. Others believe it's immoral not to do it. Yes. See, I'm a big one for consent. Okay, before you saw off parts of my body, and a child can't do that. Okay, they don't have. They're completely at the mercy of their parents, especially when they're very young. And I know people though that have had their child circumcised later because of infection development. So like it becomes a thing to kind of save the child from further problems. It really, I don't know. I have a large problem with like voluntary stuff like that suddenly parents are allowed to do to their kids. It's why I also kind of the puberty blocker thing and a few other things. It's like, maybe we should wait until your kid is old enough to make their decision for themselves, kind of thing. And that's kind of been my problem, like you're mucking with bodily autonomy. And that's kind of where I tend down that path. I'm sure there's probably exceptions that I would accept if it was explained to me, but I'm always very open to that discussion. Bloodbaths and yeah, is absolutely immoral. Yes, that's kind of the problem with Yahweh. Like, one of the big contradictions with Yahweh is "Thou shalt not kill," which people translate to murder, so they can get away with killing during war. Um, it's a great concept if Yahweh actually did it himself. Like, I have a whole series on this channel of videos called "When God Kills," and it's demonstrating how God doesn't really follow his own rules. He gets pissed off and kills people. Like, it's not even a justice thing. He just gets annoyed and he kills people. I mean, you elder gods just kind of be yourselves and end up killing people, but it's like this guy deliberately does that. The silliest argument is look at the tree. Precept is probably number 2. Okay, there you go. There you go. See, Last Supper is actually actually Jesus misplaced his packed lunch when going to Torah studies, and that is the gospel of the Last Supper. Fair enough, Rimmer. I agree with you. You and I have had this discussion, Asho, before. Like, presuppositionalism is just straight up ass lazy. It's an excuse to be lazy about proving your claims. Like, you claim there's a God, you claim that Jesus is God, you claim the Bible's the word of God, and then you want to just tell me, and that's just true, and you have to prove me wrong. It's kind of like, Saturday when I was reviewing the last part of Habermas, the Apologia video about Habermas. It's like they're setting it up. The resurrection's been proven. It's been proven by Habermas. It's just straight up true. You have to prove it's not. And that's just lazy apologetics. It's like you're not even listening to the objections that people have to all the stuff that you have in the book. You're not even doing that. You just have assumed something. So you're about to cut your beard off? Think about it carefully. I think about it every month. All right. Yes, disagree and still be friends. This describes pre-internet America. Yes, I agree with you, Ronald. If there's one thing that the internet has done that is absolutely detrimental to society is you have these voluntary groups that you belong to, and if you don't like something, you just leave the group. I didn't have that option in high school. Okay, when I was growing up, you had your cafeteria table with the people you hung out with, and if you wanted to get up and change groups, you could, but there was an incredible social cost to that in real life. And there's just no social cost for changing groups because you get pissed off anymore and don't agree with everybody. So yes, it's like learning to disagree with people and still be their friend, because you never know. Okay. Your opinions change too. So the very fact that your opinions change on things should kind of allow you to give a little bit of more leeway to other people that disagree with you, because you never know. So just because God likes it doesn't make it true, though. It doesn't mean he's the cause of it. I can like the morality too. It doesn't mean anything. It's like and at that point, it's not objective. Okay, just God likes it. That's a subjective thing. So God likes it is so subjective. So, oh, he was a felon? Yeah, I mean, he got pardoned, so he's no longer a felon. Decades ago, circumcision was a routine procedure on newborns to allegedly prevent infections. Yeah, I mean, that mentality still existed with my mother when she circumcised me. So it's not, that's kind of the way everybody thought about it back then. So yeah, that's the problem with that issue. But if you're doing it for like religious reasons or just because, yeah, then somebody began to point out that, well, maybe if, you taught mothers how to deal with that a little bit better or fathers or both parents in particular. They just did it. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's still a large group in the medical community that just thinks it's one of those things that needs to be done. So, hey, Bren, how you doing, man? Well, it's a design argument. Just when people say look at the trees or look at creation, it's the argument from design. So it's like it's obviously designed. No, I don't think so. I don't see somebody coming over and drawing up the schematics for a tree. I don't see somebody building the tree block by block. It seems to be doing it all by itself. Okay, so yeah. I have a favorite Christian conspiracy theory. Jesus. I don't know if I have favorite conspiracy theories. I have a problem with conspiracy theories in general. They're fun, I guess. Um, I don't know when JL was by earlier. I don't know if he's still here. I think when we talked on Earl's live stream for her birthday, I mentioned the Masonic ones. I felt that was my favorite heresy because you could make a lot of movies out of it, conspiracy theories. So, and we have. Um, so, but yeah, I don't know, Christian ones. I think the one that dotted my life the most, Triple E, was that the Catholic Church was the whore of Babylon. That was going back to your Babylon one. Like the Catholic Church is actually the false church. And I got that from Jack Schick. That was his conspiracy about them. So I think the Catholic Church just has a lot of problems that are very evil. So yeah, the ground opened up and ate Israelites, and he just killed them. Make the talk easier. Yeah, you don't have to talk about hygiene as much. Sir, please say anything. Anything. There you go. Welcome. If his girlfriend keeps talking about my beard, I don't know. My beard gets a lot of remarks every once in a while. I don't know how the females feel about it that much on this channel. So, um, it's not so much that it's wrong, Phantom. It's just you get really used to having very superficial relationships. Like when you have to stay friends with somebody because you don't have the ability to really change your friendship group, you find ways to dialogue deeply and find ways to get along better, even though you may have a vehement disagreement. It's a pretty easy move to just leave a group and go somewhere else. Okay, that's just I don't get people that have to broadcast that when it's like a group of somebody, but it's not wrong to change groups if you realize your group is wrong. I've done it several times. It's just I think social media makes that so easy that often a person leaves a group when really they should probably work on trying to understand the person better and have a dialogue about it because you might change their mind. And I think that's why people get into their echo chambers and don't change their mind because they don't really have to deal with contrary opinions. They can just walk away. So it has its down points. So America's not a shitty country, but okay. You got to differentiate my country from my government. Okay, I'm a libertarian, so I don't like my government either. But the people who live here are pretty good people, just like everywhere else. So, yeah, refine them. Yeah. I mean, common interest, smoking weed behind the cafeteria. Um, I mean, yeah, that's an argument too that Christianity is one big successful conspiracy theory. Dude, personal insults about people where they're from are not allowed on this channel. I'll block you myself. And I don't do that very often. Yeah, I think it also like conspiracy theories wouldn't be as big if it wasn't for the internet. Like some idiot coming up with a conspiracy theory back in the 60s or 70s has to write a book, get it published, and get it out there for it to thrive, or get in a magazine or something. Now you can just post it on a social media post, and you know, there's that. So uh, I'll answer you. Call me a bitch to my face in my house and see what happens. It's really easy to insult people online, and also very cowardly like that, dude. No, I don't think Jesus was a god, prophet, or any of that shit. Not anymore. Yes, that's a great example of bad design. See you later, Fred. You have a good one, man. Yeah, there's some people that don't think that Jesus actually existed here. Perpetuate the Mr. Babylon through adoption and pay. Yeah, I could see that, I guess. I mean, paganism has a lot of propaganda by the Catholics and by the early church against it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they wrote. I mean, it's easy to demonize a religion that you pretty much conquered in Europe and kicked out. So, and then you can say all kinds of shit about it without them being able to defend themselves. Neo paganism is kind of rising because it's like one of the arguments of a lot of pagans is they took away our original religion and we're going to get it back. So, but yeah, I could see the mystery Babylon being this. I didn't say it. I didn't think Jesus existed. I think it's an open question of whether he existed or not, like a lot of historical figures, or maybe historical figures. To me, it's not a question of whether he existed or not. I mean, if Jesus exists as a Jewish rabbi, so what? Okay, the issue is the miracle claims around it. So there's that. Um, yeah, what was? I have no idea. Fast rabbits. Love the name, Bo. I have no idea. That's one of the things about a lot of the stories in the Gospels is because of the anonymous sourcing. It's like, were they anonymous because they were trying to protect something, or were they anonymous because at the time it could have got them killed to have like homosexuality in the Bible? See, Jesus's love life is kind of an interesting topic based on the Gospels, because he has a ton of female camp followers, and and he also has this scene there, the disciple whom he loved leaning against his breast. It's like, was Jesus like, open and poly and all that? I don't know. Uh, I also hear that Harry Potter is mentioned in books. Zeus and Apollo are mentioned in books. Just because you're mentioned in a book doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean you exist. Okay. I there's tons of, I don't care about the Bible or Quran. I have a degree in biblical studies and a master's degree in theological studies. So the Bible is something I'm well acquainted with. The Quran I've read and heard its origin story and dismissed it as irrelevant bullshit. So I'm kind of done with that. I know. Yeah, it's probably a troll. One more strike, buddy. You're here for a good discussion. No. Prove that. Prove he exists. There you go. There's your challenge. Prove he exists. Yeah, kind of thinking cranky. Offend a bunch of people, get banned, and then you can go back and tell everybody how the Rabyd Atheist was such a nasty atheist that had him banned. It's a typical apologist game, both Muslim and Christian. It doesn't really, do well. I mean, if you're trying to convince atheists that your religion is true, this is not the way. Okay. No more chew toy for Fangs. I don't know. Fangs has got his chew toys. He has a very old chew toy, as I recall, a carrot. Yeah. See? There we go. Fangs has a chew toy. Yeah. Being personally insulting, like insulting my, I know I'm one of those weirdo libertarians. I love my country's supposed principles. I love the people in my country. Like there's a lot of good people here, just like there's a lot of good people in every country. It's the people with power that suck. Okay. It's the problem with power is it draws some of the worst individuals to it. And that's my problem with my country is right now the government sucks. And the rest of the country, though, they're good people working hard, just trying to survive. And I love them. Okay. I love the beauty of my country. I love some of the things we've accomplished over the years and decades and centuries. Is it all pretty? No. But, if you just come in insulting me and everybody associated with my entire country, I think you're not really thinking things through very well at that point. So finished version of that song. These are all claims the messenger reveals. You've been here before, and I've said this before. Jesus being divine is a claim. Do you care to prove that claim other than the Bible says so? Okay. Every parable, one of these days I will probably get to the parables of Jesus, and yeah, there's only truth if you accept the initial bullshit. So kingdom of heaven, imaginary made up kingdom. So I mean, and then you do the atheist theist both miss the truth, which means you have come to the conclusion that you yourself and your ego tells you that you are the repositor of all the truth. What an egotistical position, an arrogant position to hold, given the nature of it. Like somehow you've arrived at the truth and everybody else sucks. Okay, I don't get that argument anymore. Yes, Christianity is one. Triple E, personal insults, low. I have a sort of ban against presuppositional arguments. Like if they start out with attacking atheism, it's like, me and Martin are already on presup alert. Cranky Elder God probably too, because that's a presuppositionalist standard to attack your opponent and think that you prove points for your viewpoint because you defeated an opponent. I'm sorry, if you're going to claim Christianity, put out the claims of Christianity and prove their truth. Okay, that's your job. And I think it's very cowardly to attack something that has nothing to do with those claims. Okay, like make your claims and prove them. So Of course, we always need an hour. Okay. I mean, there literally have been videos and videos written on these subjects and haven't proven a damn thing. So, so good luck. I don't have that kind of time to do something I've already done. Hey, Evan, good to see you. Yeah, you're late. Got about 10 more minutes. I'm only one super chat away from wearing the hat, and right now it's the black fedora with the new feathers and shit. So, Tooth Fairy. I don't know. See, the problem when I read the Gospels, when I was studying the Gospels, and I've taught Life of Christ in my churches like 6 or 7 times. The problem I have with Jesus's personal behavior towards women and towards his disciples is you have these moments where Jesus seems to be much more free, very hippie, we would call it, like very laid back about sexual mores, very laid back about like the commandments. Like, and that's one of the contradictions with Jesus is he'll say that not one jot or tittle will pass from the law till all is fulfilled. And then, he'll immediately have his disciples break Sabbath laws. So it's like by working, harvesting grain on the Sabbath. So it's like with Jesus, it's really hard because when you read the stories of him and like he has camp followers, he has a bunch of it stated these are the women that followed him and ministered to his needs. Okay, well, okay, that's vague as hell. Okay, that's yeah. I just don't. I don't. I can see Jesus as a real person and a real cult leader with some of this stuff, but the miracle claims, require a little bit more evidence than the Gospels provide. So. There's a lot of libertarians of all kinds of religious perspective. It's a universal political philosophy that values the rights of the individual, although I would say that Christianity does not. So the thing about Christianity is you have a king. Okay, and that's not a very libertarian ideal. And I love the people here. I mean, they're good people here. Even the ones that have MAGA hats on they help out people around here. They do stuff. It's funny because in my own town, I have like 6 people. There's like 6 houses in this town that I've noted that fly LGBTQ flags in a red area of the state, like a very Republican area of the state. And their neighbors don't have a problem with it. So you go fig. You have to differentiate between what your government is doing and what the people are doing, because often those are not the same. So it doesn't really jive with libertarians. No. Jesus is very authoritarian. If you love me, keep my commandments. You will do what I say. I'm the king. There's no libertarianism in Jesus. Not in any of his teachings. I would challenge you to find it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody wants to talk about the bad things that happen, but I always try to remind people of the other side of the statistic. Like X number, like 300,000 people got murdered last year in some country, and so 300,000 people murdered somebody. But the country is like, in my case, like 358 million people. So there's 357, whatever people that didn't kill somebody last year. Okay. Like when you really look at people who don't, when you look at the side of they didn't commit a crime, that side is much bigger than the people that commit crimes. So I don't know. I don't get, sometimes you have to differentiate, the people of a country compared to, say, the people, that run the country. Like you have to make that distinction, because a lot of people in a country might be completely powerless to stop the evil that their government is doing. Like there might be some very good people in Vatican City. okay, that are good people, very charitable, good guys. Hell, you might even argue that the Pope in some ways right now is that way. But some of the other things that Vatican does and enforces is like, yeah, no. Okay. So Messenger is full of it. Okay, there you go. Hey, Earl. Glad you could make it. See ya. Well, looks like the Messenger reveals tried to take over chat. Did you do that, Earl? You got here and did that? Did you do that? And I get that. We have a very bad PR, right? But who created the PR? It's not me and my neighbor. Okay, it's those idiots gathered around the obelisk to Washington. Okay, it's like the military parade we just had. It's like you put it in the worst place in the country on the East Coast for anybody to see it. Okay, if people wanted to personally go to this military parade, the people that would go to it are out in the Midwest and down in the South, and like put the military parade in the wrong place, and it's like, and then nobody did it. So, but yeah, I don't have. Um, See, I've learned to take people as individuals and try not to ban them into groups. I don't, because there's if I banded people into groups, there's a lot of people I wouldn't hang out with, and I don't think that's helpful. Is my point. The United States has a lot of bad PR, but for a long time there are certain countries that still exist because the United States backs them. I'm thinking like Taiwan. Like, would Taiwan have not been overrun by the Chinese by now if the United States wasn't there backing them up? And so the Taiwanese people get to have their own independence because of us. Our history isn't all bad, okay, and that's the thing. It's easy. I could do that with every country, really, is badmouth the stuff they do and some of that. It's not about complacency. It's about a recognition of some people don't have enough power to do anything about it. Like there are some things I just cannot do anything about. Okay. I would love to, but who am I? I live in Midwest America, little state of Michigan. I have a YouTube channel. I try to do my best. I influence what I can, but most American people are powerless to do much about anything. They just trying to survive, some of them. So, trying to live. You did? There you go. Yeah, it was pretty bad. My take on the military parade, for a government administration that has the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and has been yapping since the beginning about government waste of money. You literally have a third of the budget for this military parade to repair the road from the damage the tanks did. How is that not wasteful? Okay, I'm with Rand Paul on this one. He basically said there were two things he mentioned, and there's another general that mentioned something about this military parade. Like Rand Paul mentioned, like it's wasteful. We're 2 trillion behind on the budget, and we want to blow 45 million on a parade. It's like we should be tightening our belts, not getting rid of that. And it's like, and he also mentioned, I don't remember during the Cold War when I was growing up us having any military parades. The Soviet Union and Korea did that. Okay. And then there was a general who was somewhat in charge of the parade who mentioned, he says, if you're a lion, you don't have to tell people you're a lion. So he felt the military parade was unnecessary too. So it ended up being kind of a contradiction by the current administration about government waste and stuff when you're just flexing. So yeah, it's kind of lame. Yeah, I didn't. I like tanks. Okay, I like military history and I love tanks, but it's like it didn't interest me at all. So it was weird. Yeah, I mean, it can be changed. The Germans have changed their rep. I mean, I'm a patriot of about our ideals: liberty, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. I can get behind that all day. It's, but I also am very well aware of Mark Twain's words, or somebody's words I recall, that nobody's life, liberty, or property are safe while the legislature's in session. Okay, there's an acknowledgement in our founding fathers that government is dangerous to liberty and it needs to be curtailed. So, I mean, you can't read the Constitution of the United States without getting this. Wow, they don't really have a very high opinion of government. that comes out. So, yeah, we kind of bailed them out. I mean, there's some good points in our history, and that's the thing. I mean, if you start looking at any nation historically, they have their good and bad points. Everybody's got their shit. Okay, they all have their stuff in their closets. It just, we're the big dog right now, and so everybody looks at us. So, yeah, silent protest by the military. I could see that, I guess. Uh, uh, yeah, if you're preaching, buddy, precepts, yeah, get out of there. They were very squeaky. Yeah, tanks make a lot of noise. They do. They don't really think about that. I keep waiting for somebody to propose a stealth tank, and then that would be nice, but never. It's, if there's a military piece of hardware that is pure grade A brute force, it's a tank. Okay, it's just, it just is. Yeah, I get it. There's some people that just aren't patriotic. I like the ideals that my country supposedly represents, and that's where I'm patriotic. So I liked how we started with our ideas, not necessarily the reality of things, but the ideas were good. And now we keep trying to get off of them, as our founding fathers warned us we would. So people walking around carrying drones. Yes. Is that weird? We've, I don't know. In America, I see like films by drones all the time now. Like it's like a thing. It's like a thing. So I don't know. Drones seem to be the way of capturing any moment anymore. So B-12s, I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at, I'm sure somebody's going to want my opinion on the Israeli-Iran thing, and once again, I really don't want like a Muslim theocracy to have a nuclear weapon. I think that would be a bad idea. But at the same time, they're a sovereign nation that has the right to develop their own defenses. So I don't know. And then I've got Israel, doing their thing, and of course, American Christians are going to back anything they do, and yeah, that could be a bad. Yeah. Affect my politics? Not much. In fact, I would say it was my politics that kind of led to my deconversion in a certain sense, because as a libertarian, I'm a very staunch proponent of individual rights. Like the smallest minority in the world is the individual. Okay. And I take that as kind of a principle. And so the Bible does not have any respect for the individual whatsoever. And I constantly wrestled with that. So I don't think my politics has changed that much. It's more my faith. So, oh, I see that that's got to be one of the quicker bans ever. Yeah, you don't preach here. If you want to prove the Bible's the word of God and have some sort of rational, logical argument for it, lay it out there and we'll see how rational and logical it is. Love your country, love your wife. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, they're not in a position to really do anything about it. Uh, I don't know. Whenever you have a theocracy running a country, it's never good news for the country. They always tend to stay backwards because religion tends to maintain a status quo, and usually, a tech level that's not right up there. The only reason they have ever wanted like nukes is they have this apocalyptic view of the end of the world, which is why I really don't want them to have one. But the TIE fighters are on the way. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, from a political standpoint, if you're talking geopolitics, yeah, Iran needs one because they're close to several countries that have them, like Pakistan, India. They're right next to Iraq, which is not as they've never been friendly with each other. So it's like it's I can see it from a geopolitical point of view, but from somebody who thinks religion is also detrimental, it's like religious extremists with nuclear weapons. No, not a good idea. so, so yeah. Really? They don't show up here? Well, it's over then. Chuck Norris has been sent to Tehran. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I got to really run because I'm way over time actually because I have to get to work tonight. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for all the donations. Didn't quite make it to the hat reveal tonight, so close, but very close. But thanks everybody. I appreciate all of you stopping by. You guys are great. I hope some of you like some of the new emojis that are in there. We've got a few that have been updated. Consider becoming a member. We've hit our maximum of a number of emojis, so we need about 10 more members, and we can do another one. So, but we're going to change some in and out, so you guys get some fresh stuff. So, thanks very much for being there. But thank you, and may fangs nibble at your heart. May all the things that you wish through fangs. Oh, you're going to make me do it, huh? Okay, Earl made me do it, and I'm obligated to do it. Let's see, who is the leader right now? Okay. Oh, black fedora. Okay. I took the Holy Bunny hat off because it kept winning. It's too exciting. So the black fedora now has a blue headband and I think an appropriate blue and black feather. So I've got like all kinds of headbands and feathers now, so I can play games with this all the time. So yes, we try to do that, Fangs Rabbits. It's I said your name Fangs, notice. So like it's like a blue band around the top there with a nice little blue feather, and it's the same black fedora, so it actually works out really, really, really well. I thought it was good. Yeah, I've had this sitting here for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, if I keep putting the Holy Bunny hat on, that's always going to seem to win. It's always going to be a front runner. Everybody likes that one. So I took it out today, and I'll probably take it out on Thursday too. So, but yeah, we made it. Thank you everybody for all the support. The hat is a nice addition here. Let me remove Fangs, so now you can see it a little bit better. But yes, but I kind of like the fact that I now have all these bands and feathers and stuff. I can play games with my black hats and kind of like it. So I don't know. I still have this nostalgic way of looking at 1940s and 50s, the way people dressed. It's like, so there's that. So blue matches the super chat color. That's true. Thanks for the memories. There we go. There we go. See, you guys are doing good. See, and I want to remind everybody, Fangs being the living embodiment of the F word, you can use Fangs' name in place of the F word, and it still means the same thing. So, proper atheist fedora looks nice. Oh, chef's kiss. Thank you. It's a heathen hat. Yeah, they had class back then. I agree with you. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate the donations. Glad I got the hat reveal out. I'll probably pull this one off from the next one, and the top hat will still be there and a few others. So there's that aspect of it. So there you go. But thanks, everybody. May fangs nibble on your heart. May your teeth ever be pointy, nom nom, and all that. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around, and then it's over. And so you want to take all your time, money, and opportunities and spend them on yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all next time on Thursday on Deconversion Hangout.